Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Special welcome if you're new here. My name is Jody and we are going to be doing some fun Valentine's Day treats together. One thing I've kind of done before, but this is just a little different twist on it. It's some Valentine's Day conversation heart cookies. The other one I have not done before, but we're going to be making some Valentine's inspired like chocolate bark, and so I think that's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be unique. If you'd like to see me do that, then stick around. If you'd like to learn maybe a little bit about how to do it, stick around. I will let you know there are some fun bloopers in here. I think I'm going to keep that in, so stay tuned, keep your eye out for that. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's real life, so enjoy. Hey friends, Editing Jody here. I just want to let you know a few things. One is that I initially filmed a different intro and then I went ahead and accidentally deleted that introduction. So I had to film a second one, and in doing that, I forgot to give you a few of the details. One of them being that the cookies that we are mixing up first, the first recipe, it is a family recipe and I'm not going to give all of the ingredients. There are two mystery ingredients that I'm just going to kind of keep a family secret, but I'm going to give you like the rest of the measurements and everything like that. I guess that's the main thing. I just wanted to let you know, I wanted to give a little explanation as to why in the first part of mixing this dough up, I don't go over everything. The second ingredient you don't really see me add because it already turned the camera off for some other reason and then turned it back on, and I had added it then at that point. But yeah, that's just a little explanation. Let's continue on with the video. All right, we're gonna start out by creaming the butter, which we have always used the Crisco butter. Use regular butter if you want. I can't guarantee how the recipe is going to turn out because I've never used it with regular butter, but it's your prerogative if you'd prefer. But we're going to cream together the Crisco butter, the sugar, an instant vanilla pudding mix, and one of the secret ingredients. So we're going to combine all that. All right, 1 cup of butter, or Crisco in this case. To that we're adding 2 cups of sugar, 1 package of the vanilla flavoring, or vanilla pudding. All right, so now I have the secret ingredient in there and we are just going to mix this up. To this, I'm going to be adding 3 eggs. I've already cracked them into the measuring cup that I had the butter or the Crisco in earlier. You can add them one at a time if you prefer, but it's just fine this way. There's no problem. It's not gonna hurt anything. I do like to scrape the sides down without mixing this too much, just to try to incorporate that egg in there a little bit better. All right, next I'm going to add some of the smaller ingredients, baking soda and baking powder, and then also vanilla and butter flavoring. My mom's recipe kind of doesn't call for it quite the way I do it, but I do about half a teaspoon of baking soda and about half a teaspoon. Did I grab? Oops, I grabbed the wrong one. I'm sorry. I grabbed the half teaspoon size and I thought I had grabbed the whole teaspoon size. So that is approximately half a teaspoon of baking soda, and this is half teaspoon of baking powder. So altogether like 1 teaspoon. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla, just eyeballing it. Same for the butter, 1 teaspoon of that. And then I'm going to do about 3 1/3 cups of flour. The thing is, my mom never really measures when she does her cookie doughs. She just kind of eyeballs it. So this is her best estimation, and it's kind of one of those things you just kind of go based on the texture. But I usually find that the measurements that I have written down are pretty accurate. So 1 cup, I'm going to do part of it at a time. I'm going to do the first 2 cups, mix that a little bit, and then add the last portion of it. The 3rd cup, or the last of the 3 cups, and then I need to get 1/3 of a cup. And we'll mix this up and see how the dough looks. Okay, I think that dough texture actually feels pretty good. I'm going to refrigerate this for about, well, I'm going to refrigerate it overnight. That's the recommended. I've put it in the freezer before and come back to it at a much later date. You can do that, but I do plan on baking these tomorrow, so we're just going to let this chill overnight. And then If I need to add more flour at the time that I'm cutting out the cookies, that's kind of when I do it, when I just kind of make up what I feel like I need. And I just like to turn this out on some plastic wrap, wrap this up tight. You know, for even a single batch, this is a lot of cookie dough. Back when I was doing a bunch of baking, like I said, I would easily go through a double batch of this, but I'm just going to put this in a Ziploc. Like I said, put it in the fridge. We're gonna let it chill for overnight, and then we will get to baking tomorrow. So I'll catch you then. All right, friends, it is cookie baking day. So let's get started on that. I have some essential tools. I'm just gonna show you what I'm gonna be using. I have a rolling pin. I have 2 heart-shaped cookie cutters, a smaller one and a larger one. I have a little scraper here. I don't know what you call it, a little spatula type thing for my cookies. I have the cookie dough that's been refrigerated overnight. And then we can't forget about cookie trays. I like these ones. I don't know what they're called. Let me see. It says it's from the Food Network, but it's got like these air pockets, I think, in here. I think that's what I was told. I'm not sure, but I like these type rather than the conventional like jelly roll type tray. I just feel like these bake better without giving, I feel like the jelly roll ones tend to give a little bit more of a burntness to it. This one doesn't have Food Network on it, but what are these called? I don't know. Maybe I'll pop Air Bake. Oh, that's what it's called, Air Bake. Okay, have you guys ever heard of these? Mine look really beaten, but they are well used and well loved. And I just put some parchment paper over it. All right, I'm probably only going to take half of this out at a time before I put the rest of it in the refrigerator again. Gotta roll the sleeves up for this job. Sprinkle some sugar around. This bag is almost empty, so I'm not really worried about sticking my hands in and out of this one because I'm pretty sure I'm going to use up all this flour. Put a little extra off to the side for dipping my cookie cutters in. And then I'm just going to kind of pat some flour all over this. Tore my cookie dough when I lifted it up. I probably shouldn't have done that, but oh well. All right, I just got it to my desired thickness, the cookie dough. It's not rocket science, whatever you kind of prefer works. I'm just gonna go around and make a bunch of heart cutouts. To make sure my cookies have a little flour underneath so they're not sticking. And just space them out on the tray. I have my rack on the middle layer and my oven set at 325. I'm going to choose to bake 1 tray at a time. When I did this all the time, I would definitely bake 2 trays at a time. And sometimes I'd have one in and then put another one in midway through, rotate like that. I don't feel as confident with judging my oven timing skills, like I said, because I just don't do this all the time. But I do like to rotate my tray, even though it's on the center. I'm going to start out with, I think, 6 minutes. And then I'll turn it around again. I am not afraid to re-roll my dough, but the more you do it, the more tough it will get. So just be cautious of that, especially if you are really against a slightly tougher cookie. And it also depends on how much flour you add each time. So as I continue to roll this out more times, I'm using less flour each time. Next, I'm going to make some royal icing, which I used to do all the time and had the recipe memorized. But like I said, I haven't been doing these cookies very regularly anymore, and so I no longer fully remember the recipe. I also had a little baking error in that I didn't realize that I was out of powdered sugar. I thought for sure I had some downstairs in my little pantry-like area down there. By the way, I'm just trying to shake this powdered sugar down. Anyways, I didn't. We're gonna put the whole bag in. Just kind of shake that down a little bit, and then I need to get some warm water. Move my sugar over. I have 3/4 of a cup of warm water, and I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of the meringue powder. I just have the Wilton meringue powder. Ooh, spilled some there. This didn't used to be my favorite, but I think they've changed. Wow, I keep spilling it. I think they've changed the recipe since I initially tried it. Better make sure I'm counting here. That's 3, 4, 5. I might have been able to get away with actually doing a half batch. I probably should have done that. It's a little late now. And then I'm going to do 3/4 of a teaspoon of the cream of tartar here. That looks about right. Mix that all together. All right, basically want no lumps in it, but I think that's good enough. Okay, pour that over the powdered sugar. This is a royal icing, by the way, that I would call, it's like a softer royal icing. It should still get a crust on the top, but it's not gonna be like that rock hard thing that makes you wonder why you're eating a rock instead of a cookie. So this is the recipe I like. I'll see if I can find it online. It is not my personal recipe, but I scoured the internet long and hard many years ago to find a royal icing recipe that I felt like met my desires. If I can't find it online anymore, that original recipe, I will just write it down for you in the description box. All right, and then I'm just going to add the remaining ingredients. I think this calls for 2 tablespoons of corn syrup. I used the light corn syrup. By the way, I just mixed this until it was well incorporated, about a minute or so. Between the corn syrup, I think the corn syrup gives it the shininess to it, and the glycerin is going to kind of keep it from getting really hard. It calls for 1 teaspoon of glycerin. I don't want to go in with quite that much. I'm going to go in with a little over half, about 3/4 actually, because sometimes when I'm writing on the cookies with like an edible marker, it can be too much and I can poke through, like it can be too soft. Okay, a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just eyeballing it here, if you can't tell. And a little bit less than that for the butter flavoring. Okay, I mixed it just enough to try to get those ingredients kind of mixed together, but I'm going to scrape the edges, and then we're really going to mix for a long time. It's going to be about, what does my directions say? 6 to 8 minutes on high speed, and it'll get nice and fluffy. I'll show you. All right, you guys, it actually didn't take as long as I thought it was going to. It did not take 7 or 8 minutes. It took a couple minutes, to be truthfully honest. But can you guys see that glossiness to this? Hold that up for you to see. It's thick, it's whipped, it is glossy. This is the consistency that you want. Let me use my spatula here. See how that moves? That is the consistency you want. If you end up whipping it too much, you can get too many air bubbles in there, and then when you're trying to get your frosting on your cookie and getting it to set, there'll be a bunch of air bubbles in your cookie or in the frosting itself as it's setting. It just doesn't look as appealing. It doesn't look as smooth and polished. So I don't want to over mix it. All right, so I have my container of colors here, and I have the frosting all in these little containers here. We're going to do 5 different colors. So we're going to do like a pink, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Should I do orange? Well, no, we're not going to do orange because I don't have enough frosting set aside for that. So we're gonna just stick with the colors I already mentioned. And I have some of these colors already out here as well. And so I just have a variety. I have some Wilton varieties. I have a Chef Master. I have a Sunnyside Up Bakery. Those are the brands that I have. Just what I can get locally. Going to need some spoons for stirring. And then I like to use toothpicks as well. All right, so the first color, we have purple closest to me, so we're gonna do that. If you guys have never worked with royal icing, the reason why I like to use it is because I can decorate layers on top of layers with it, and you can do that with regular buttercream. But this gives it like a soft, what do I wanna say? It gives it a smooth finish and a little bit of like a sheen to it. And I just find them, I don't know, I just got really obsessed a while ago with like the look of royal icing cookies. Look it up online if you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, something that you need to know about them is they will set up when they get hard. So that's what you want once it's on your cookie. But before that, if it has a chance to get air to it, if I would just leave this uncovered, the frosting would set up to the consistency that I couldn't work with it. So you have to leave it covered. And my purple gel is a little bit thick here. I don't use that one all that often, but it should work all the same. I have a paper towel off to the side so I can kind of like wipe the extra frosting and coloring off, because I will probably dip back into it. We'll see. These are supposed to be like pastel colors. That's the whole thing with like the conversation hearts. I think I told you I'm doing conversation hearts, right? I think so. And usually with royal icing too, the color that you see it right now, it looks a little lighter because the light's right on it too. I have a light set up behind you guys or off to the side, but it will dry a little bit darker. So this is actually looking maybe a little bit more pigmented than I want it to. It takes some wrist work to really get it all mixed up though. And you can loosen this icing up. So if I mix this icing with more water, it becomes a much thinner consistency and much different for working with. And I will do that when I put it on the cookies. Now you could just take like a offset spatula and put this on your cookies, but then it's just going to, in my opinion, look more like it would if you would do a regular buttercream frosting. And that's not what I want. All right, guys, for the sake of my wrist, I did add some water to this to help thin it down a little bit because she was really pasty, really thick, and my wrist was getting tired. I wasn't originally going to decorate today. I was going to do that like tomorrow or so, but you know what? I think I might just decorate some. We've got some nice lighting today and everything. Okay, you know what? I do think that looks like a good color. It will, like I said, dry down just a little bit darker once it's on the cookie, but I think that's a good color. All right, now at this point, I'm just going to mix up the other colors that I already told you about. All right, so I think I have all the colors mixed up to the color consistency that I want them. I'm gonna thin these out to a flooding type consistency. I'll show you that in a little bit, but I'm basically just using tap water. So just slowly add a little bit at a time. I'm talking drops at a time, teaspoon amounts or less at a time. Stir it, see how the consistency is, and I'll show you what the final consistency is supposed to look like. All right, this is the consistency of the royal icing that I was talking about, the spreadable consistency. You could thin it down slowly. I recommend that because it's easier to add more water to it and thin it down as you need to go than it is to thicken it up. I think this is pretty good. I usually test this by just putting a little dollop in there, shaking it and seeing how long it takes for it to kind of blend back in. And usually you want it to be under 10 seconds if you count like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and all that stuff. So I think this is going to be pretty good. Let's get to decorating.
Laid under the willow tree, the last weekend of summer, the empire at our fingertips, the autumn to discover. If I would have had the worthiness to be the perfect lover, would you stay under the willow tree when I asked if you would be? Would you be my Valentine? Would you be my Valentine?
All right, I'm pulling these conversation heart pieces back out of the container. I use a little bubble wrap in between, like I had I have the wax paper and bubble wrap in between. Once they are fully dried, I store them away just because it helps keep them a little bit better. I just find like the oils from the cookie, like the butter and stuff like that, if I lay them down with just the wax paper, it kind of can break down the icing on top. So I just like that extra barrier in between. But anyways, I'm pulling these other ones out, and I have a red edible marker, and we're trying to make them look like conversation hearts, okay, you guys? And my handwriting is atrocious on these. I just don't have that cute handwriting. I already did some. The rest of these here, I want to do like a kind of a Christian theme on them, so I just want to write different messages, like one, instead of be mine, we're going to do be his. Can you guys see that? Love others. Oh, I'm running out of room. That's another thing where I struggle with my spacing. The message is nice, even if the writing isn't. All right, you get the message. So I'm going to finish these up, and then I'll show you the end thing. I got the little ones to do as well. All right, guys, I did some of these little cookies, the miniature ones, and I realized I made a big mistake. You could say a huge mistake. Because you know what, we're just gonna laugh at myself, because I was laughing at myself. I was showing my husband the cookies. I said, do you recognize the typo? Do you recognize the typo? Or do you see it? But let's look up top here. Let's zoom in. Huge me? That was supposed to be hug me. I feel like such an idiot, but I was laughing so hard once I realized my mistake. Like I said, literally I was crying. And now my mascara has been dampened, and now my eyelashes are sticking together. So, you know, it's one of those things, okay? What can I say? I won't be giving those ones away though, that's for sure. All right, and so here are all the mini conversation hearts that I did. On the left side is more of like the traditional script, and on the right side is more like a religious script. And I like it. I mean, minus my handwriting. I wish my handwriting was a little cuter, more polished, but I like it. Okay, another treat that I wanted to do was this Valentine's Day chocolate bark that I saw on Pinterest, and I said, yes, let me try that. So I have a couple of ingredients here. I have the Oreo thins. I found some candy wafers that are strawberry flavored. Yes, please. And then freeze-dried strawberries and some chocolate. Now, I wanted to find just like plain dark chocolate, but I could not find, like, I really love this brand, this Chaucer brand. I think it's like a Belgian brand. Anyways, I really love this flavor, but I could not find it just plain. So it has nuts in it, so hopefully that won't be a problem. And then some sprinkles just to make it more festive, I guess. I have a tray already lined here, so we're going to open up the Oreo thins. I've never had the thin variety. I'm not sure. I like the cream. The cream is what makes it to me. And we're just going to line this all over. Hopefully I have enough chocolate to do this.
Still I lie within a memory, devoted as your lover. You could take my hands and cover your eyes and tell me there's no other.
Snacking on another Oreo.
Valentine, would you be my Valentine? Pray to find the right one when the time is right.
All right, I have my oven preheated to 170. Let's pop her in for about 5 to 10 minutes, the directions say. All right, I set the timer for 5 minutes. We'll check and see how it's looking then and go from there. All right, you guys, I am improvising. I'm taking some semi-sweet chocolate chips here, and I'm melting these down. And I'm going to add these to the yogurt, or I keep saying yogurt part, to the chocolate bark. And so I turned the oven off. I think it's as melted as it's going to be, but I just need to finish melting these. All right, we have melted chocolate here. All right, hopefully this will stir. I'm trying to do it two-handed. Oh my gosh. Ah. let's just put some of these in here. I'm going to kind of bust them up because I don't want like big pieces. Just little hints of strawberry throughout. Yeah, I definitely think I could have added more of those pink melting wafers. I didn't like want it to overwhelm things, but you live and learn. If I really like this, I might do it again next year, or maybe again later this year. All right, there we go. Now we'll just stick this in the freezer so it can harden up. I don't know that I got any of that captured me breaking this up because I thought I was playing and I wasn't. But yeah, these are really nice looking pieces. Some of them are better looking than others. Like this has a lot of design on it, really beautiful, all the colors. But some of the pieces I ate when I sampled one already that didn't have a lot of different like color variation on it. And it was still good. It was very good. It didn't have any of the strawberry on it though, so I didn't get like that texture to it. I think these look really nice. I think they turned out well. Now to make a little gift basket or gift box for them. We'll get to that.
Be my Valentine. Would you be my Valentine?
All right, friends, and among other things, I forgot to close out this video. So here I am once again, just bringing this to a close. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you're inspired to do any cute treats or themed things. I've never been one of those to really do a whole lot for Valentine's Day, my husband and I, but it is kind of fun to do a themed treat every now and then. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it inspired you. And until I see you again in the next video, have a wonderful day. Bye.